Hello and welcome back to the channel. Lord KO here. Let's get the obvious out the way first. Yes, I look a little homeless. My hair is kind of wild and I got a pretty grizzly beard going on. But needless to say, we're here for some Dissidia NT information. Today will be the series finale of the Netplay hero for Dissidia NT. It'll definitely go on with different games and stuff like that in the future, whatever kind of piques my interest. But as far as Dissidia NT, this will be the series finale. I want to thank everybody that's watched all the videos so far. You definitely helped me grow as a content creator quite a bit. I just want to thank everybody for that. It was a really constructive way to kind of get my ideas out and just kind of have a long running format. I didn't write any of the videos really, just kind of bullet points and stuff like that. It was a way to kind of express myself about how I felt about the game, the community, and just different aspects that don't always get talked about a lot, honestly. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me through all the episodes. This will be the finale, and we have a pretty interesting topic, as you can tell by the thumbnail, obviously, is today we'll be talking about my personal favorite top 5 players of Dissidia NT. Now, we all have our favorites, and one thing about this community, and a lot of communities in general, is that I don't feel that we give each other, kind of props enough, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes you can kind of, because it is a competitive game, we can kind of get bogged down and entrenched in negative mindsets a bit, as far as like our fellow players and stuff like that, and can get bitter and there can be resentment about it. One thing I would like to see a lot more, and if you see somebody pull off something crazy, or you see somebody that is a really talented player, just kind of big them up, you know what I mean? Let them know that, hey man, that what you just did was fucking crazy. I think that compliments and just kind of keeping people excited and active to play is a large part of a game, or a niche game, right, that has a pretty limited community. You want to keep people excited coming back, you know what I mean, and just be genuine about it. Everybody that's on this list here, I've been fans of for a long time. This isn't an overnight thing or anything like that. Every single person on this list has definitely deserved it, either just from playing against them or playing with them. Generally, everybody on this list I've played with at least a handful of times, but just the way that they play their characters, their awareness, their knowledge of the game, definitely is quite high and very impressive. This is not necessarily an easy game to play. It can be a little difficult, but they're very consistent, you know what I mean? And there's certain facets to what they do, and I'll go into it one at a time, obviously, but there's certain things that they do that just always, sometimes just straight up leaves me awestruck a little bit. But we're gonna go ahead and get into the video. If you haven't done so already, definitely give me a shout on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. Make sure you follow the page, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on notifications, a little bell icon if you don't mind, and give me a shout on Twitch. We'll be doing some PS5 testing over the next, probably indefinitely. I'll only be playing it on PS5 going forward. So if you're looking for any feedback about Dissidia NT performance on PS5, I'll have a whole video coming out probably later this week, early next, that'll kind of go into it a bit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the list. Enjoy, guys. Okay, let's start this thing off with a bang, all right? Number 5 is going to be a bit of a split. It's going to be split between 2 players. It's my list. I don't care if I'm bending the rules. I'll do what I want, all right? Number 5 is going to be split between 2 players. So let's go ahead and start this thing off. So first player is going to be Brave Fantasy. Brave Fantasy, I think, is probably the singularly most dedicated player when it comes to this game, for sure. And probably one of the players that's put in the most amount of logged in hours, like actual, not just logged in, but just actually competitive play. I think he probably edges out almost about everybody outside of maybe Saren, as far as just the amount of hours logged in competitively. I've been playing at a very high level. Now, I've played, my kind of relationship with Brave started as kind of, I remember we lost the very first ESL. We were eliminated to what was then Team Garbage. So my actual competitive relationship with Brave began on an L. Yeah, funny enough. And kind of throughout the years, we would kind of play in casual stuff like that, lobbies and stuff like that. I want to say over like the last 6-7 months or stuff like that, I recently had started playing with him and Jay Smooth on Team Waco Mundo. And that was something, playing against somebody for so long, you kind of get preconceived notions as to how they are as a player. But I think you kind of best understand a player and their mindset and what they can truly offer and what their actual talent level is once you play with them. And playing with him definitely showed, really how competent he is at this game. And one thing this is definitely the thing that makes me a Brave fan is his choice of characters. I don't want to say he uses the worst characters in the game, but it's pretty fucking close. He's always been known for his Vaughn, always generally known as the Vaughn, right? He is the Vaughn player for forever and ever. Mained that character for a few years, I want to say. He transitioned over to other characters, which I think was actually a pretty good move. But the characters that he used generally have been considered to be sleeper picks or just flat out bad, right? So, you see him playing a Vaughn or a Camelot. I actually think his Camelot is really good. That's probably one thing that kind of made me, first thing that was like, wow, if you're doing work with Camelot, you're pretty good. You know what I mean? You can't fraud people. There's certain characters you just can't fraud people out with. Camelot, Furion, stuff like that. Vayne. If you excel with characters that, in comparison to the rest of their peers in the cast, they have limited options, or they're just not, outright as powerful, that is your talent, actually carrying you there. So seeing him do that on a consistent basis, and this is not a one-off, it's not a fluke. He's consistently being able to perform. That really shows his actual talent level. So that's one thing that definitely made me a fan, is his character selection and his dedication towards playing those characters. You know what I mean? He understands and does know how to play the top tier characters. Like, he has a really good Arden, a really good Cloud, but he can pick characters that, a lot of us would struggle with, just the average player, and excel greatly with it. You know what I mean? He's an overall pretty cool kid as well. And then really chill for the most part. That's one thing that I actually value a lot, and pretty much everybody on this list will reflect that same thing, is he's pretty laid back, win or lose. You know what I mean? Anytime I play with him, I can't speak for other situations, maybe not so cool, but every time I play with them, you know what I mean, he's a pretty level-headed person. We've never really had a situation, win or lose. Like, we had a pretty bad loss in Friday Night Fights. No one was screaming at each other in VC. We didn't devolve into madness. We kind of just understood where we messed up at and moved forward. You know what I mean? That's something that's pretty rare in some teammates. And it doesn't have to be a nuclear explosion if things don't go your way. That's one attribute about Brave I've always appreciated. And he's a really impressive player, man. I definitely think he deserves a spot number 5. All right, so let's move on to the other half of the 5, and I can tell you right now, this is going to be a little controversial. Now, number 5 for me, the other half of number 5 is going to be Philios. Now, Philios, everybody's probably already saying, "Oh, this guy, you picked this guy." Now, for a long time now, he actually lives in not in the United States. I believe he lives like in one of the island regions or something like that, Puerto Rico. So he actually, his connection to us, sometimes, most of the time, wasn't so great, right? Because it's just a distance thing. Now, this game does not handle distance well. I think everybody knows that. So there would be a lot of, feedback or negative blowback. Why are you playing with him? It's hard to hit him and stuff like that, which is completely understandable, acceptable, and fair. I get that. That's a valid and viable excuse. You know what I mean? I get it. But the thing that made me an actual Philios fan was playing with him in person at Otaku 2019, I want to say, or maybe it was 2018. Playing IRL with somebody and actually seeing them and talking to them in person, and his performance overall, I don't want to say, I think we all equally carried our share in that tournament, but seeing him play in person, one thing that really struck me about Philios' play is that he's not really afraid. You know what I mean? If he thinks that he's better than you as a player, he is going to disrespect you. He's not going to have any fear at all. And some people might say that comes from knowing that your connection is not that great, but seeing him do that in person on a connection that was vetted and everything like that, was as good as Dissidia NT was ever going to get, a localized air quotes tournament. Seeing him really perform at a really high level, and there was certain matches where he would just like close out the entire enemy team like for free, and it just seeing him do that just that complete confidence and hey, I'm the better player and I'm gonna stun you. You know what I mean? I'm gonna disrespect you. I'm gonna do whatever I want to, and it was just working. You know what I mean? Seeing him do that at such a high level was something that definitely made me a huge fan of his for a long time. Probably always going to be a fan of Philios. It's a shame that we didn't get to play a bit more, just because connection issues and stuff like that, and it's just didn't really pan out. But I definitely think he impressed me a lot in that tournament, and being able to kind of meet him in IRL was really cool as well. He's real chill kid. He's pretty young as well. And we also play some of the same characters. He's known for his Tidus and stuff like that, but his Bartz is actually pretty good. He played Bartz throughout the majority of Otaku, and his Bartz is pretty impressive. His understanding of the game is pretty high. He's one of those that was in ranked all day long. You'd always be able to find Philios who is in there. And that's another, to tie in with what I said with Brave, is that dedication and that love of the game. You know what I mean? That's something I will always respect. And that's something, you know, obviously we're here 3 years later. I love the game a lot also. To see that mirrored in other individuals definitely will always make me respect them. So shout out to number 5, Brave Fantasy and Philios. You guys are some of my favorite players of all time. I appreciate what you've done for the game, competitive drive, and just some of the stuff you pulled off. You know what I mean? I just playing with you guys and seeing some of the things that you're able to pull off, forever impressive. I appreciate it, guys. So without further ado, let's move into number 4. Number 4, the young Crimson Crater himself, Cross. Now, Cross is a pretty interesting pick. I think he'll probably make a lot of players' top 5. I'm not sure if his favorite players, but if you said best players, for damn sure, he'd be top 3 for sure for most people's list. The thing that really differentiates about Cross and every other person probably on this list is his understanding of the game. And when I say understanding, not just like a surface level, like this guy knows like damn near the whole cast. And not just that, he can play a lot of the cast at a higher level than people that main him, that character. So say that, you know, there was a damn world-class Furion or something like that. If you put Cross on Furion, I'm not saying he's going to be 1-to-1, but he'd be pretty damn close. I've seen Cross outshine people with their own mains on a whim. His understanding, his talent, his just sheer talent level of this game is extraordinarily high. And I think the thing that really, you know, funny enough, the reason that I bought Dissidia NT is that Final Fantasy 13 has always been one of my favorite Final Fantasies, and Lightning, being able to play her in an actual true fighting game, now that was the thing that actually made me buy this game. So to see him actually, his mastery and his understanding of that character, and I think most people would consider her a mid-tier character, right? Maybe mid-high in the proper hands, but she can be a bit of a struggle. I wouldn't say anybody would ever say that she's easy. But his performance with that character, and again, not just a one-off, this is consistency, where he's able to do, you know what I mean, and kind of push the paradigm to his advantage in situations where it feels like it could be hopeless, you know what I mean? And I've played with and against Cross. Cross is definitely one of my bracket demons. I just cannot be, even in casuals, I struggle to beat Cross. So anytime I do, like even get HP off on him, I gotta pop off, because it's actually a tremendous uphill battle generally when you're facing him, and it doesn't really matter what character he's on. His understanding of the game and all 3 roles and the intricacies and nuances of the game just makes him a problem. It doesn't matter what character he picks and what role he's running on. Of course, there's always human error involved. I'm not saying he's gonna be perfection every time. He's not an android or some shit like that, but it's extraordinarily difficult to beat him or even to contest him in most situations, because he knows every character's kit. He knows the situations that they excel in, the situations that they don't, and his actual spontaneity. That's something that I had mentioned in the top 5 Dissidia teams of all time. That was something that Kumagawa, probably one of the best speeds, if not the best speed, top 2 speeds of all time. That's something that he also excels in as well. You know, I mentioned that. But his ability to not really be choreographed, I don't think if you play a match with Cross, you can't really ever get a read on him as far as what is this guy going to do, unless it's super duper obvious as far as a setup or something like that. He does know how to turn that pendulum at the drop of a hat. It really turned the momentum of any match into his favor. And if you pair him with somebody that's also extraordinarily good like Nyx, it just becomes quite a hellish situation, honestly, because he's pretty malleable also. That's one thing I like about Cross, is that not only does he know every role, he's pretty good depending, if you put him with 2 competent players, he can shine a lot, you know what I mean? He can also just carry the entire team because he knows everything about the game, you know what I mean? He's been in a lot of situations. He's grinded and played the game so much that he knows, you know, how to play with certain player types. Say that his shoot is being too passive and they're too far away. He knows how to make that work still, or maybe that his, you know, maybe he's playing Vanguard and his speed is like going in nonstop. He knows how to shift the gears so that he is playing around his team, and you know, it's not stuck in such a form where, you know, he can't really adapt to what's going on. I think that's Cross's singular greatest ability, is his adaptation. His understanding of what's going on the field and responding. It's really probably unparalleled. There's probably only a few other players I put in that category. but I think that Cross is a really terrific player. It's a fucking scary player also. Really scary player to play against, honestly. But I think that his talent level, you know, alone can put him on most people's list. But just seeing the stuff he's done or continues to do on a regular basis is really quite impressive, honestly. And I met him in person a handful of times. He actually helped organize a number of offline events, which you see here on the screen now. But shout out to Cross, man. Shout out to the Crimson Crater. You're number 4 of my favorite players of all time, man. You deserve it. Congratulations. All right, we in the big 3 now, guys. Top 3. Who's it gonna be? So number 3 definitely has to go to this person right here. It's got to go to Pigeon Senpai. Young Birdman, that's what I call him. Now, Pigeon is probably the most likable player in our entire community. I don't think I've ever heard anybody have had a bad word or a negative word to say against Pigeon. He's probably the coolest, just like the actual coolest laid back person in the community. And to boot, he's a fucking really good player as well. The thing about Pigeon that really stood out for a lot of us was that he was playing Vayne, right? When Vayne first launched, and you know, we didn't really know what was going on with Vayne. Is he good? Is he not? Or anything like that. But seeing Pigeon's dedication to Vayne and his understanding of that character and making him work in situations that you just really didn't think he would work in was one thing that definitely helped make me a fan of his. Just outside of his own personal personality, I think that character loyalty really solidified, like, wow, this guy is not only a force to be reckoned with, but I respect his resilience with sticking with this character. He's, you know, Vayne is not always the easiest character to use, and he definitely has some hellish matchups where it's not good for him, but he always made it work. You know what I mean? He's a talented player as well. I've seen him play different roles, speed. He had a really good Vaughn back in the day. I've seen him play shoot as well. He understands the game as well as quite a high level. But I think that the thing that gets Pigeon on this list is definitely not only his standalone play, but as a team, he is he is like a great synergist. You could put Pigeon with almost any other 2 people and it'll work out. You know what I mean? He's one of those people that he's not really phased depending on what's going on. You know, we could be in a scrim. I've been in a scrim with him on his team where we were like literally lose like 10-13 maps in a row or something like that. No meltdowns, no pads being chucked across the room, you know, none of that, you know, or the VC goes ice cold quiet, like none of that stuff. We could still have fun, pop jokes and stuff like that. It's not the end of the world, you know what I mean? And I think that temperament, you know, this is something that Brave Fantasy and a few other people on this list also share. That temperament, I think, is his best attribute. You know, his just really calm, cool, relaxed demeanor and his ability to, you know, execute. I think that his staying with Vayne for so long really taught him how to excel in different ways. Because if you're dealing with a character whose kit is somewhat limited, I think most people would say Vayne's kit is somewhat limited. When he actually switched over to Arden, when Arden dropped, when we were all preparing for Final Saga, which actually never happened, shout out to COVID, he had a really damn good Arden. You know what I mean? If you take that fundamental skill set and you put it with a character that's way better than the one that you're using, you know, you can actually see, wow, this is really difficult to fight him now. Not that his Vayne wasn't difficult to fight, it was, but it's just, you know, he's kind of like not being hindered by the actual character in itself anymore. But just shout out to Pigeon. I definitely think Birdman definitely deserves this shout out to number 3. Definitely, I would say probably top 2 favorite players to play with. We did play IRL when we did, I think that was last year. We did Dissidia NT for Evo in Vegas. We did it at a game center that was kind of off this strip, and there was like 4 or 5 teams there, and we ended up winning. It was me, Pigeon, and Shugo Tenshi, I think that's his name. We ended up winning. We were undefeated. We dropped like 1 match, but we won all the sets. So we beat all the teams, and it was like not even close. It was like blowouts. So I was on shoot, and I think Pigeon's probably one of the best vanguards you can get, honestly. He's very aware. He understands when to go forward, when to come back and stuff like that. So if you are shoot, that's like, it's just like easy mode. You know, you have somebody that's going to protect you, that's going to set up for you. You don't have to worry about, wow, this guy's 3.5 rings away. He understands his role and he plays it exceptionally well. For a long time, the dreaded duo of Pigeon and Polar, you know what I mean? If anybody's familiar with Marvel 3, it definitely was the Doom Virgil of this game. If you had both of them on the same team, it was fucking impossible, it felt like, to beat, because you're dealing with like almost 2 S tier players. I know both of them don't really play anymore, but when they were in their prime, I definitely would consider both of them S tier. And you put them with even a basic third player, you put them with me, I'm a regular player, and the shit they could accomplish was just really, really devastating. Their understanding and their awareness of the game, really, really good, really strong synergy, and just, I can't really say enough, man. Shout out to Pigeon, that's the homie. And let's move on to the top 2. Let's go. Top 2, getting down to the wire here, all right, so top 2, I think most people will probably guess at least one of them. Top 2, number 2 is actually going to be Mr. J Smooth. J Smooth originally came onto the scene as part of a warring triad, and he was a shoot there. And I remember, this is one thing that I think that I have an eye for players that I think are a little like they're not really, they might not have found their like shine yet, you know what I mean, or the masses might not know about them. He was on Warring Triad, and I remember playing against him in a tournament, actually. I was like, this guy is really fucking good. Like, his awareness, his decision making, target selection, all that. I'm like, he's much better than people are giving him credit for. I was always like, day one, from like the moment, like I don't remember what it was. It was either a lobby or a tournament. After that, I was like a fucking fanboy. I was like, this guy is really fucking good. And I would tell people, and they're like, I don't see it yet. You know what I mean? And then I don't know what happened overnight. Everybody knew. They were like, oh, this guy, everybody wanted to duo with them. Everybody wanted to scrim with them. Everybody knew. You know what I mean? Like, the secret was out. This guy is fucking insane. Like, he's really, really good at this game. And I think another thing with Jay is Jay doesn't really talk too much in VC. He's a really cool person, but I played a lot with Polar also. Polar doesn't really talk in VC, like, very seldom. So it was almost like getting like a updated version of Polar, a really exceptionally talented shoot. Well, completely different temperaments. Let me put that out there. Like, definitely heaven and earth as far as temperaments. He actually did start talking kind of recently and stuff like that. But I just remember, I think that was probably one of the funniest moments. It was just like, it all happened in a week. And like, everybody's like, yo, I'm just trying to duo with Jay and stuff like that. Or, you know, is Jay available? I want to play with him. And I was like, damn, y'all just now seeing how good this guy is? Like, I've been saying this guy's fucking insane. Like, he's really good. And he ended up, I think the thing that really helped him get his shine, rightfully so, was when Warring Triad disbanded and him and SU found another third in a Metsu. And that fucking team was it's still, if they put that team together tomorrow, it would be hard to beat. Really, really hard team to beat. And then the melee was really good by themselves, but it was just Jay's kind of understanding of the game. I think he would, I'm safe to say that probably through the history of Dissidia NT, I'm kind of okay with saying he's the best of all time for shoot anyway, for North America only. I think he definitely is the best. And then probably Edo and Polar, top 3. You can put them in whatever order you want to. But Jay's understanding of the game, he is a very versatile shoot as well. He understands all the shoots. He plays all of them at a very high level. Of course, he has his favorites, Ultimisia, Renoa. But the same thing with like trying to fight Cross. It's never going to be easy. It's never going to be free. You're never going to be able to just walk up to him and HP him in most cases. His awareness is very strong. And if you, like, I play normally Vanguard to his shoot. If you can protect him, keep him safe, and enable him properly, he'll run the whole fucking show for you. You know what I mean? All you need to do, you can actually just be a hold bot. You know what I mean? If you're on Vanguard, and if you're on speed, just don't kill yourself, you know, find opportunities and stuff like that. But his independent skill level is so high, and his awareness is so high that he can carry any team. You know what I mean? He's carried me through a number of different tournaments and stuff like that. And he's one of those, just like Pigeon. You know what I mean? Win or lose, it's not the end of the world. And I can't really state how important that is. You know what I mean? Some people, when you lose, they really just, like, it's a fucking meltdown. Like, I've been in some of those VCs where something goes wrong, or a tournament's lost, or they go sent to losers, and it's just like, you know, round zero. You know what I mean? Having somebody that isn't going to lash out at you, you know, yes, there needs to be things that are improved, but doing that in a constructive manner, having genuine, honest conversations like, hey, at this situation, you press this button, you didn't need to, you know, I think that's where more growth comes from than really trying to do on the spot in real time correction. I think that leads to a number of different problems. But that's something that Jay is very good at as well. I think he'll give it to you straight. You know what I mean? Like, well, you know, that we didn't need to do that right there. We did this and we didn't need to do that. I've asked him for feedback numerous times, like, hey, you know, what did you think about, like, hey, I was using Sephiroth or Cloud or something like that. And he'll give some really great feedback. That's one thing I really appreciate about Jay. And you know, I could do this forever with every single person on this list. So I'll go ahead and round it up with Jay. Jay is definitely a really talented marksman. My favorite party marksman of all time. Really, really good. Really cool kid as well. And you know what I mean? I'm glad that, I think more so than anything else, I'm really glad that he's getting his shine. He's just really, really good. I don't know what else to say. He's a really, really talented player to play with. And let's move on to number one. I'm not sure if a lot of people will guess this, but let's jump into number one. Okay, I wanted to do a brief intermission, all right? Now, just because you're not on this list doesn't mean that I don't appreciate your gameplay or I'm not a fan of yours. It's just that I'm just more of a fan of these other players. So we're gonna do kind of a quick shout out for a few players that weren't necessarily on the list, but I feel like they're pretty good as well. Number one, I would probably say Young Zikryu. That's somebody I've been playing with more. His Golbez is quite insane. I think probably one of the best Golbezes for sure. One of the most impressive Golbezes for sure. And a lot of other players, West is probably one of my second favorite marksmen. Westfa you know, that's one thing is that a lot of people didn't get to play with him because he was already gone before, like a lot of people when the game, he was gone kind of early on, I'm going to say. But he's one of my favorite players to watch as well. I think he's exceptionally talented to shoot, and one of the scariest shoots as well to play. Players like Klein, love his Emperor. Who else is on here? Saren with his Sephiroth. Nyx's fucking Bartz. He's probably one of my biggest motivations for trying to learn Bartz at a really high level. And I could do this all day. You know what I mean? There's probably gonna be people I miss, but I didn't want everybody to feel like, hey, I slighted all these people, but there's definitely people that I appreciate and I like their gameplay a lot. It's just that it wasn't necessarily on the same level as these other people. So no disrespect, all right? Okay, number one, numero uno, who's it gonna be? All right, so number one for me is going to be Mr. Prophet. Now, Prophet might not strike a lot of people on this list. I'm like, this guy is your favorite player of all time, but let me kind of tell you guys a story, all right? So when Dissidia NT was first coming out, I remember this is months before the game even came out. I had been watching arcade footage that had been uploaded to YouTube, and I used to watch it nightly for like hours at a time. And I was like trying to find a character I was like, you're not gonna be comfortable with, and I settled on Ace. And then when the actual beta came out, I remember playing a lot as much as I can around work and stuff like that, IRL. And I remember finding this stream on Twitch, right? Undoubted Prophet. And I was like, who the fuck is this? I never heard of this name or anything like that. And I used to watch, he used to stream, this is back when the game was like very popular, first came out. He used to stream almost every night or a few nights a week at least. It would just be like really, really high level stuff. And I was a complete novice. I had never played an arena fighting game at all. No Gundams, nothing. You know what I mean? There was no Naruto games and any of that. So I was essentially starting at ground zero. And watching his streams definitely not only made me a huge fan of the game, I think his streams are almost what sold me on the game. I was like, seeing what's possible. Sometimes you need to see that something is possible in order for your brain to accept it, right? Like some of the setups, some of the really high level stuff. I remember watching way back in the day. This is back when Acid Ace was still playing. They would do scrims against Cup Noodle and stuff like that, and seeing some of those really high level stuff back then, I was like, wow, this is fucking insane. And kind of understanding how far off you are from that. You know what I mean? Like I was still definitely dedicated to getting better, but to see some of these people that the game hadn't even been out, I don't even think for maybe 2-3 months or something like that, how far they had gone and their understanding of the game was definitely really impressive. And the thing that kind of pushed it over the top for that, when it comes to Prophet, was his Sephiroth. Sephiroth, that was one character I had, one of those things you kind of conflate in your mind, like I will never be able to use this character. He's just too fucking much. It's gonna be too much in order to understand this character and get him down at a really high level. I kind of play him a little bit now, not really at the same level. I think overall, if I had to stack my favorite Sephiroths of all time, probably Prophet would be number one. And the thing about Prophet Sephiroth is that it's much more laid back. It's not like pedal to the metal, like 100%. Like, you know, some Sephiroths, their biggest issue with Sephiroth is the self-destruction, where he just keeps killing himself over and over again, or he overextends, or he does a nasty whiff, and the next thing you know, he's getting set up and he's dead. I think he's much more measured in comparison to the rest of the Sephiroths. I'm not going to say he's the best, but I'm going to say that he definitely is the most patient one. I think Sephiroth definitely excels the most when you are patient. You look for your opportunities, you get in, you get out, you play your role properly. You know what I mean? You cut, you get in, you get out, you find opportunities, you protect your ear marksman, all that good stuff. So watching his Sephiroth, man, that just, I don't think that there's a lot of people used to say, as a lot of people probably still regard him as probably one of the best Sephiroths. He doesn't really play the game anymore. We did some PS5 testing the other night, but he kind of comes back on an as needed basis and stuff like that. And playing with him, when I actually got a chance to play with him in tournament, we did okay. It wasn't that bad. It was actually me, him. So we played twice. It was me, him, and the Mixer. That was a good tournament and stuff like that. So actually being able to play with him, and even just casually, and his understanding of the game is extraordinarily high, I would say as well, because he is a player I think that benefits from playing a lot of different games. So his view of the game is not just, you know, based off Dissidia NT. It's based off other team-based games, other strategy-based games, how you position yourself on the map, where your teammates need to be, where you need to be for support. He brings a wealth of knowledge to the game as well. So I think that's one thing that always differentiated him. And shout out to Wes as well. Playing with Wes and playing with Prophet's very similar as well, because they come from a background that has a lot of different influences from different regions as far as games are concerned, and they bring that wealth of knowledge to the game. So they look at things in a very, very different manner than most players, honestly. And you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot, not just from watching them, but playing with them. If you ever get a chance, that's probably Wes, probably impossible at this point. Prophet every now and again, if you can catch them. Playing with them is normally a pretty good experience. They can teach you a lot about the game as well. But that Sephiroth definitely is what made me a fan, and playing with him as well. And you know, I consider him a pretty good friend at this point as well. So shout out to Prophet, #1, and I think he definitely got the crown, because if it wasn't for him and his streams and kind of his showcasing of the game and what the game can do, I don't think I would have stuck with the game nearly as long. You know, all the things that all the issues with the game, we know. The solo queue, the bots, the lag, the way the early tournaments were handled, that's enough to drive away any player. But seeing how far and how good the game actually was, I think that's what it was. He showed us how good the game actually could be. And I think that was a thing that a lot of us early competitive players really needed. So shout out to Prophet, and shout out to everybody on this list. Again, you might not agree with this list, but it is mine, and I stand by every single person on this list. I think that's one thing, as I mentioned before, that's one thing we just don't do enough. We don't shout out enough players. You know what I mean? We don't big each other up. We just don't. I think we really get drowned down in pettiness a lot, which is a shame. You know, I think that if you see somebody doing something that's kick ass, let them know. I think that's one of the best things you can do. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Dissidia NT, you know, just lift each other up more often. But that's it. You know, this is going to be the huge blowout for the Netplay Hero. I appreciate you guys all watching the videos. It's been a blast to create these videos for you guys and to learn a lot about, you know, video editing, audience, and kind of how to express myself through thoughts and stuff like that. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. But as always, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Hit me on YouTube if you have any Dissidia NT questions. Hit me on Discord, Twitter, etc. Love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.